top stories of the day. Understand the issues that matter. This is Manila Bulletin News on Web. Your quick rundown of top news in the country and around the world. Manila Bulletin, celebrating 120 years of timely stories and timeless truths. Be fully informed. Hi, I'm Barbie Atienza. This is MB Now, and here are your news on web. Almost 24 million students are currently enrolled both in public and private schools nationwide, according to the Department of Education. It is more than their target number of enrollees for the incoming school year, which is set to open next month. DepEd has conducted dry runs and simulations for a blended learning to ensure a smooth opening of classes. Merlina Hernando Malipot has this story.
In a seeming vote of confidence, the Department of Education got more than their target number of enrollees for the incoming school year set to open next month. DepEd on Wednesday announced that there are 24 million enrollees currently enrolled in both public and private schools nationwide. As of September 2, the total number of enrollees has reached 24,020,421 nationwide. Of this number, 22,029,720 students are enrolled in public schools and 1,945,041 students in private schools. DepEd Secretary Leonor Briones said that the current enrollment rate is 86.43% of the total enrollment in school year 2019-2020 at 27.7 million.
People were saying, especially the left and the opposition, that nobody will enroll because of COVID, and they were calling for academic freeze, kuno. But right now, Mr. President, as of this morning, abot na ng 23.9 million learners ang nag-enroll.
Really?
Every day may humahabol, no? And regional target natin, sabi namin, kung makuha lang natin 80% of last year's enrollment because of COVID and the downturn in the economy, okay na yan. Yun ang aming commitment sa NEDA. Pero ngayon, it's already 86.8% of last year's numbers.
To ensure a smooth opening of classes scheduled on October 5, Briones said that DepEd has conducted dry runs and simulations for blended learning.
We are introducing, and thank you for mentioning in your SONA, the approach to learning which we are initiating, yung distance education as well as blended learning. Sabi namin, i-dry run namin, i-simulate namin, kasi ngayon lang ito nangyayari na aside from online platforms, we will be using TV, we're going to use radio, in addition to printed materials. So, umabot na ng 516 schools all over the country, nag-dry run, at nakita natin ang mga challenges na ko-correct kaagad.
The national enrollment data covers public and private schools, as well as state universities and colleges, and local universities and colleges, and learners across all basic education levels. For MB Now, this is Merlina Hernando Malipot reporting.
Even if President Rodrigo Duterte's term is at its tail end, the president vows to crack the whip on erring officials, especially those involved in corruption and illegal drugs. The Philippine Health Insurance Corporation and the Bureau of Customs were mentioned by the president as targets of more stringent measures against crooked officials of both government agencies. Our Malacanang senior correspondent Jen Cabiling has the details.
Entering the home stretch of his presidency, President Rodrigo Duterte vows to crack the whip on erring officials, specifically those involved in corruption and illegal drugs. In his Monday night's television address, Duterte mentioned the Philippine Health Insurance Corporation and the Bureau of Customs as targets of what will perhaps be stringent measures against crooked officials of both government agencies. Duterte expressed his disgust over the seemingly blatant corruption within the government despite his no-nonsense drive against wrongdoings among public officials since he assumed the presidency in 2016.
Go after corruption. Not you being the corrupt, the culprit. Tulungan ninyo ako. Kawawa ang Kawawa ang bayan. Naawa ako talaga sa bayan ko. Believe me, my heart bleeds for my country. Yung unabated corruption and with no end in sight, and another election coming up, and you see the same old faces there. So the same old bata-bata, kung sino yung mga tao nila, wala, patay.
In the same TV address, the President warned newly appointed PhilHealth President Dante Giran of wolves in sheep's clothing once the former National Bureau of Investigation Director sits as chieftain of the beleaguered state insurance firm.
So you must send these guys to prison. Kasi problema yan. The actuarial study shows that there will at some point in time, wala nang maiwan. Kasi ibayad mo yan sa mga beneficiaries. Kaya sabihin mo, pagtawag mo, huwag na maraming dala. Sabihin mo, putang ina kayo, magtrabaho kayo, letse kayo. Sabi mo ni Mayor, yayariin. Gusto niya yariin ko. Pati yung diskumpiyado, ayaw. Bigyan mo nga't pangalan kasi paasahin ko dito.
As for the Customs Bureau, Duterte was more belligerent in his order to its chief, Commissioner Ray Leonardo Guerrero, who was said to have requested the president for additional ammunition.
And you begin to rely on people who would whisper that, sir, tutulungan ka namin dito. And when they gain your confidence, you become to rely on what they say until you believe that they are doing the right thing. Kaya sabi ko sa kanya, sabi ko dito, ang droga pumapasok pa rin. Gusto ko pumatay ka dyan ng total bakapan kita, hindi ka makulong. Basta droga, barile, patayin mo. Yan ang usapan eh.
For MB Now, this is Jen Kabiling reporting.
The number of beds available for those infected with COVID-19 has increased the past couple of weeks, according to Treatment Czar and Health Undersecretary Dr. Leopoldo Vega. The One Hospital Command Center has been doing its job of ordering hospitals to add more beds in anticipation of potential surge of cases. Charina Nicole Ongki has this report.
While cases of coronavirus patients in the Philippines are still piling up, the number of beds available for those infected with COVID-19 has increased the past couple of weeks. In Wednesday's public briefing update of PTV4, Treatment Czar and Health Undersecretary Dr. Leopoldo Vega said that the One Hospital Command Center has been doing its job of ordering hospitals to add more beds in anticipation of potential surge of cases. As of Tuesday, September 1, the country has 62,655 active COVID-19 cases and has so far tallied an overall total of 264 cases, more than half of which have already recovered.
Maganda naman po kasi yung umpisa ho, nung last month, ang critical care utilization ng ating mga beds ay nasa 82%. Ngayon ho, bumagsak na siya sa 71, 72, at saka yung mga ICUs natin naka 67, 68. Kaya pinapatupad pa rin namin na talagang yung mga ibang hospital, magbubukas sila ng ibang mga beds dedicated for COVID para magkaroon ng better number of unutilized beds dito sa Manila.
The One Hospital Command Center was launched early August, which aims to unify the country's hospital response and maximize available health facilities for the fight against the pandemic. As for the returning overseas Filipino workers who were mandated to undergo quarantine measures in Fort Magsaysay, Vega disclosed an encouraging outcome in the same TV briefing.
Community ang nangyari sa kanila. They can move around the treatment facility, meron silang social integration, meron po silang mga maraming programs po na hindi sila nainip sa 14 days nila. Kaya nung pag-send off po namin kahapon with Secretary Duque and Secretary Charlie Galvez Makita nyo maganda ang aura ng mga OFWs na umuwi, masaya sila.
Also last month, President Duterte approved the release of an additional 5 billion pesos for the repatriation and assistance to overseas Filipino workers affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. This, after the Department of Labor and Employment was said to have exhausted the 2.5 billion abot kaya ang pagtulong assistance fund being extended to both on-site and repatriated OFWs affected by the pandemic. For MB Now, this is Zarina Nicole Ongki reporting.
People wearing plastic face shields or masks fitted with a valve can spray invisible droplets over a very wide area when they sneeze or cough. This makes the devices ineffective in preventing the spread of coronavirus when used on their own, as simulation model shows. In a report published Tuesday in the U.S. journal Physics of Fluids, researchers at Florida Atlantic University used vertical and horizontal laser sheets to track tiny droplets of distilled water and glycerin as they spread from a hollow mannequin head fitted with a plastic face shield or a mask with a breathing valve on it. The face shield initially blocks the passage of the droplets as they move forward, but the expelled droplets can move around the visor with relative ease and spread out over a large area, according to researchers. As for a mask with a valve fitted to make breathing easier, a large number of droplets pass through the exhale valve unfiltered, which make it ineffective in stopping the spread of coronavirus 19 if the person wearing the mask is infected. The researchers concluded that despite the comfort that both types of protection offer, high-quality cloth or medical masks of plain design are preferential in helping prevent the spread of the virus. In Metro News, Mayor Tiangco warns parents to keep children off the streets. 123 barangays in Metro Manila to experience 9-hour water interruption, and newly rehabilitated Anda Circle soon to be unveiled. More from this report.
Navota City Mayor Toby Tiangco has expressed a serious warning against parents who are letting their children play on the streets amid threats of coronavirus disease. Tiangco said he would not hesitate to impose a fine against them should they fail to discipline their children. This came after Tiangco got appalled after seeing several children outside their houses. In his Twitter account, he posted a photo of at least 7 children playing on the street and without social distancing, which are violations of general community quarantine guidelines that prohibit people without essential business and those below 21 years old to go outside their houses. Tiangco reiterated that it is the parents' obligation to look for their children. 123 barangays in Manila, Makati, San Juan, and Mandaluyong will experience a 9-hour water interruption starting Thursday night, September 3, according to Manila Water. The water service interruption from September 3, 9 p.m. to September 4, 6 a.m. is due to the pipeline relocation and retrofitting at Lambingan Bridge, according to Manila Water Advisory. 94 barangays will be affected in Manila, 7 barangays in Makati, 16 barangays in Mandaluyong, and 6 barangays in San Juan. Manila Water also advised residents in areas which will be affected by water interruption to store enough water supply. Also, after service is restored, customers are advised to allow a few minutes for flushing before using the water from their taps. The Manila City government will soon unveil a newly rehabilitated Anda Circle, the roundabout at the boundary of Intramuros and Port area. A moving solar studs around the monument to give an ample lighting and make it into one of the attractions in the city, according to the Manila Department of Engineering and Public Works. A warm white light will also illuminate the now clean monument. Manila Mayor Francisco Isko Moreno Dumagoso said pedestrian lanes will be placed according Anda Circle so the public can safely go near it. Anda Circle was erected to honor Simon de Anda y Salazar, who organized a resistance against the British occupation in 1762. He was later appointed as the 41st Governor General in the Philippines and served from 1770 to 1776. The proposal to create a monument in recognition of his role in the Philippine history was made in 1871. Anda Circle was originally erected near the Pasig River and Intramuros. In 1960s, it was reconstructed its current place after it sustained damage during World War II.
Here are the top news in other parts of the country. Baguio City to open its doors to Region 1 tourists starting September 21. Manhunt on for 2 escapees from Negros Occidental Jail. And Duterte kissing ground in Jolo show utmost humility according to a BARMM official. More from this report.
The country's summer capital opens its doors and offers its cool climate only to visitors from Region 1 on September 21, creating a tourism bubble in a bid to gradually open the city's economy. The gradual opening of tourism was forged during a meeting of Tourism Secretary Bernadette Puyat, representatives from the different provincial governments, representatives from the tourism sector, and the city government of Baguio. Tourists will have to pre-register using the Visitors Information and Tourism Assistance app. It will be jointly utilized by the local government units in keeping with the tourism reopening plan of Baguio to assure compliance to health protocols. Personnel of the Negros Occidental District Jail in Baguio City are searching for 2 persons deprived of liberty who escaped from the facility on Monday. Jamie Sablon, who was charged for frustrated murder, and Ramonito Ventura, who was charged for robbery, bolted out of the jail by cutting the steel bar of their respective dormitories. Senior Inspector Norberto Michano Jr. said a manhunt operation is ongoing, adding that they already have a lead on the escapees' whereabouts. The jail is also giving a cash reward of 10,000 pesos to any informant for the arrest of each escapee. Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao Grand Mufti Abu Huraira Udasan lauded President Duterte's gesture of kissing the ground at the blast site in Jolo, Sulu, describing it as an utmost sign of humility. Duterte visited the Jolo blast site on Sunday, August 30, and kissed the ground, eliciting various reactions on social media. Udasan added that humility knows no boundaries or religious affiliations whatsoever, and it comes from the heart, and that they see nothing wrong with it, as the gesture of the president emanates from within himself.
In world news, 90% of 105 nations' health systems hit by COVID-19, according to the WHO. Powerful quake strikes off coast of Chile. And 300-meter 3D art adds beauty and serenity in Jakarta. Let's watch this.
9 out of 10 countries surveyed in a recent report experienced disruption in their health services during the coronavirus pandemic, according to World Health Organization, publishing its first survey on the impact of the outbreak on health systems based on 105 countries' reports. WHO found that low and middle-income nations reported the most significant difficulties. Data had been collected in 5 regions from March to June for what the UN health body said was its first indicative global pulse survey on the impact of the virus. Most countries reported that many routine and elective services had been suspended, while critical care such as cancer screening and treatment and HIV therapy had been high-risk interruptions in low-income nations. WHO said that countries on average experienced disruption in 50% of a set of 25 tracer services. A powerful earthquake struck off the coast of northern Chile early Tuesday, but there was no tsunami warning, and the quake caused relatively minor structural damage, authorities said. The U.S. Geological Survey put the magnitude at 6.8, a scale later revised upwards to 7 by Chile's National Seismological Center. Despite the tremor's strength, relatively little damage was reported by Chile's National Emergency Office. Electricity outages were reported in some areas, and road links were cut following the landslide. Emergency services reported masonry damage to homes in areas of the northern city of Copiapo, but no injuries were reported. A 300-meter-long 3D artwork adds beauty and serenity to a neighborhood in Jakarta. The artists from the independent Komunitas Perupa Jakarta were keen to liven the mood during the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. The group has around 60 painters, most of whom are freelancers. They have painted murals in the past to highlight certain environmental and political topics. This is their first large-scale 3D painting. According to one of the residents before, the area was quiet, only cars are passing by, but now it brings joy to their neighborhood despite the pandemic.
In entertainment, a source revealed that KZ Tandingan and TJ Monterde are officially married. The two singers exchanged I-dos at a health and wellness resort destination in Batangas in an intimate ceremony attended by no more than 20 to 25 people. Among them, singer Martin Rivera. Tandingan shared in a previous interview that Rivera is the only showbiz personality they will be inviting as godfather to the wedding. Though the two haven't shared any posts about the wedding on their respective social media accounts, a local nail salon tagged the bride on a picture showing elegantly manicured nails wearing the same engagement and wedding rings. And in sports, the PBA will no longer impose sanction on Phoenix Super LPG coach Louis Alas, who was handed a 15-day suspension by his team for violating health protocols being observed during practice. PBA Commissioner Willie Marshall said an additional punishment is no longer needed since the fuel masters are serious enough in making sure that the guidelines are being observed. Alas is currently serving the ban, which ends in the second week of the month, for violating protocols thrice. He was seen his fingers being taped by a physical therapist and twice entering the Upper Deck Sports Center in Ortigas during the time of a different batch of players and while the venue was being disinfected. PBA teams are only allowed to divide their training sessions by batches composed of 4 players, a trainer, and a safety officer each. The Phoenix mentor has since said his violations were purely unintentional, but lauded the team for strictly observing the protocols. And those are the news on Web today, September 2, 2020, 114 days before Christmas. For more news and details, get your copy of Manila Bulletin newspaper tomorrow or log on to www.mb.com.ph. And you may also subscribe to our newsletter through the link on this video's caption to have the day's latest news delivered to your inbox. I am Barbie Atienza for Manila Bulletin, celebrating 120 years of timely stories and timeless truths. Join us again tomorrow. This has been MB Now. Be fully informed.